Tech by Tips.
Welcome to another Tech by Tips video. On today's video, we're going to be talking about how to use our current Synology NAS as a VPN server so that we can connect to our home network when we're not at home. So we have access to all those applications that we have running inside our network when we're not at home. So if you like the content, like the video, subscribe, share it with people that you think might benefit from viewing the content. And remember that I do not monetize this channel. I do not make money from YouTube. So if you want to support me, there are links in the description below. So let's get to that. Alright, so we already have our NAS working in our home network, and we want to use this NAS also as our VPN so that we can access our home network while we're not at home. So the nice thing about this is that Synology has built in a VPN server into their NASes, and we can leverage this to achieve that. So we can go into the package center and we're gonna look for the VPN application. So it's VPN server, and we install that. That's the first step that we need to follow for this. And when it installs, it should immediately start running in our NAS. And it's done. So now it's installed, and if we click on it, we see that it's running. So our VPN server is running. So now we should have a new icon here that says VPN server. So we should be able to click in here, and we have several options to use because they allow you to use either PPTP, OpenVPN, or L2TP with IPsec. In my own preference, you can pick whichever one you want. I go with the L2TP IPsec because that's the one that is more easy to configure in a lot of devices, for example our home or our Windows computers and stuff like that, so that we can connect to it. So I'm gonna go with this option here. So right now nothing is enabled. Alright, so now we gotta set this up. If we go to connections list, there's nothing because nothing is connected. If we go to log, nothing is there. General settings, here we go. So here the network interface that the NAS is going to use is the only one that we have connected, which is our LAN network interface. And in here it tells us that we're going to use NAS users for the connections to the VPN. And I want to make sure that I do not have this checked. So if I create a new account, it's not going to automatically give it permissions, but I'm going to control who gets to use the VPN, which account. So I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to apply this first. So now we know that only the users that I specifically grant permission are going to be able to use it. Now we go into privilege, and here's where we see all of our users. I'm going to make sure that only my account has access and only to connect with L2TP IPsec, because that's the only one that I'm going to enable. So I'm going to leave that checked, and I'm going to apply that. So now it's applied. Then we go, here's the different VPN server types. So I said I'm going to get going with the L2TP, so I'm going to select that one. And here's where we set it up. So I first check here to enable the VPN server, and then here we have to specify the address range that we're going to give to our VPN connections, right? So for example, if your home uses the typical 192.168.0. something, then you would have to pick another one that is different from that. So for example, 192.168.1.0. So you have another separate network inside your VPN to assign to your devices. So we're going to do that. And for example, if you have a 10.0, which is my case, so then you would go with something like 10.0.1.0. And that's going to be used to assign the IP addresses in that range. And then here you can set the maximum number of connections that you're going to allow. In my case, I'm going to go with the minimal because I don't have a lot of people needing to connect to that. So the minimal is what I want. And I'm going to leave it as 3 because I could connect 3 devices with my account at the same time. Here for authentication, I'm going to use MSCHAP, which is the standard for this type of connection. I'm not going to change anything here. And here is important. We have to set up a pre-shared key. So that pre-shared key is something that you have to put in your devices when you configure it. So for example, let's say that my pre-shared key is going to be my secret. and we put that twice, key. There you go. That's all we need to configure here, so we apply that. And now our VPN server should be active and listening, and it tells us that we need to port forward to our Synology NAS from our router, and it tells us that we need to give it the port 1701, 500, and 4500 on UDP. So that's going to be the next step. So we're going to go into our router. In this case, I have a Verizon Fios router, so I'm going to log in, and once I log in, I'm going to click where it says port forwarding, and here we're going to see what I currently have port forwarded in my network. I have already set up the ports for another device, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to do it again for our current NAS. So we're going to delete this, so we no longer have that. Then I'm going to select the IP here, so that's the IP of our NAS that we're using for the series, and then I'm going to say a custom ports, and then we're going to put 500, 1701, 4500, and then we add. And now we see that it has added those ports here, and we can apply that. And once we apply that, then all the traffic that comes to our home network is going to be redirected on those ports to our Synology NAS, which will serve as the VPN gateway for our home network. Now, here's a problem. Okay, we are able to listen on those ports and connect to the VPN service. However, how do I know how to get to my home, right? So that's something that you can do several ways. If you already own a domain, like for example, mysite.com, right? If you own that domain, you can point that domain to your IP address of your home. You can do that directly within your router, and sometimes within the Synology NAS too. So that's an option that you have. If you don't own a domain and you don't want to pay for a domain, you can go to a website that gives you a free subdomain. For example, you can go to a website like ChangeIP, is where you get a free subdomain that you can use to point to your network. And now we can close this. Actually, let's not completely close it. Let's just leave it there for now. And we can go in here, and there's an option here for our DNS to update the DNS directly in the NAS. So we can go into external access, and we go into DDNS, and then we can add here. And for example, if you have changeip.com, then you can put here your domain. And then your username and your password. And then what it'll do is that it's going to put your IP on that server. So it's going to update that domain name to point to your home IP, and then you should be able to just connect to your VPN using that domain. So that's how you set that up. To set up our phone, we go into our settings app, we go into the VPN, and we create a new VPN configuration. We make sure we select L2TP because that's what we chose it to be. We give it a name, like for example, home. And for the server, we're going to use the subdomain that we got from ChangeIP. In this case, mysub.domain.com for this example. And then we're going to use the account in our Synology NAS that we set up to connect to the VPN. So we put our username in here. And the password is going to be the password for our Synology user. So we put that password in there. And then the secret that we said that we were going to use for the VPN, we set that up in there. And that's all that we need to configure in our phone. So we can save this. And now to test it, we can select it. And then we can click on the slider to connect to the VPN. And as you can see on the very top, we were using our network connection from our cell phone provider, and we got the VPN symbol, so we are connected to the VPN. So now I can see if I can reach my NAS inside my home using my cell phone connectivity with the VPN, and as we can see, yes, we can see that. At this point, we also should be aware that within the NAS, we can monitor who has connected to our VPN and when. So if you go into the log section of the VPN server, you'll see there that when a connection is established, a new entry is created in it, and then we can see who connected and when. For example, I just connected. Let's refresh this, and here we go. We see that my user connected from my cell phone IP, and it was given the internal IP 10.0.1.1 that is within the range that we specified in our slot of IPs for our VPN network. A little bit after disconnecting, you will also see a log entry that says that the connection was ended, so it was disconnected, right? If we go into the connection list on the left, we'll see the active connections. I am currently not connected, so let me connect to the VPN and we can monitor that the active connections are shown in here when we are connected. So I have connected. Let's refresh this, and we can see that I am connected with my user from my cell phone IP, and I was given the dynamic IP 10.0.1.1, and it's been up for 4 seconds, but we refresh and that updates to 17. So when I disconnect, then after a little bit, when I refresh, there we go, the connection goes away. So it says that I'm not active anymore. And if I go into the log, I can see that I disconnected from the VPN. So this is good for you to always monitor whenever someone is connected. Let me connect again and show you something else. I have just connected, and here it shows me that I am connected. Now, if I see something weird connecting to my network, I can force disconnect it. So I can select the connection here and click disconnect, and that'll disconnect the user. So by doing that, I received a message on my phone saying that I was disconnected by the communication device and the connection was terminated. So you can also have that option there to do that. And yes, I hope you like this video. I hope you find it useful. And yeah, use your Synology NAS as best as you can. Use all the features that are available with them. Remember, if you like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with people that you think might benefit from it, and remember, you can always write comments in the comment section below, and I try to respond to all of you. And if you want to see something featured in the channel, I put that in the backlog and I research it, and as best as I can, I'll put my effort to give you the content. I'm currently giving priority of the requests of donors. As you know, at the bottom of the video you have links to donate. You can do a donation via PayPal or Bitcoin. I do not monetize this channel. You should not see an ad from YouTube on my videos. So if you want to support me, I'll really appreciate it if you do it that way. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you liked it. See you on the next one. Thank you very much.